Chapter 4736. No family would be able to bear such a price. Therefore, all they could do now was to wait for the result. If Bailey Hongzhuang made a mistake in this round and failed to refine the pill, that would be what they were looking forward to the most. It seems that neither Di Beichen nor Bailey Hongzhuang can be left alive. Jun Xuanxiao's eyes flashed with killing intent. He originally thought that Bailey Hongzhuang was nothing to be afraid of, but now his thoughts had changed. An alchemist with amazing talent, it wouldn't take long for her to become a level 9 alchemist. Her appeal in the future would be terrifying. Those good-for-nothings couldn't even handle this kind of thing properly. Jun Lingxuan and Jun Zitao looked at each other and couldn't help but sigh. They originally had a good hand this time, but they didn't expect to be counterattacked in the end. This feeling was indescribably uncomfortable. At this moment, no one was in a better mood than the Di family. They came prepared to lose face, but they didn't expect to be complacent and happy. Great Elder, as long as Hongzhuang and the two elders don't make a mistake in this round, our family should be able to get a good quota. Di Xiaofeng's face was full of joy as he looked at the Great Elder and said happily. Di Qiyuan nodded slightly. That should be the case. If the family head knows about this, he will be very happy. When the result is out, we will send the news back as soon as possible. The family will also have to send more disciples to participate. Di Beichen said with a smile. Previously, because he rejected the marriage, the family disciples lost their quota. Now that they got more quotas, everyone would like Bailey Hongzhuang even more. Thinking of this, Di Beichen was in a good mood. On the competition stage, as time gradually passed, the faint fragrance of pills spread out. When the first pill fragrance spread out, it was followed by the second, then the third. Not long after, some alchemists successfully refined their pills and stood aside with smiles on their faces, waiting for the final result. During this process, the sound of failure could be heard constantly. After all, alchemy was not a 100% success rate. Even if the ranks of these alchemists were not low, there was still the possibility of the pills being destroyed. On this battle stage, if one's heart was not calm, a slight difference would lead to such a result. As one alchemist after another completed refining pills, the atmosphere on the competition stage also became tense. Many cultivators stared at the hourglass at the side. There wasn't much time left. Di Yunhe and Di Hengyun also finished refining. They looked at Bailey Hongzhuang and found that Bailey Hongzhuang was still refining. We don't have much time left. Madam, it seems like you haven't finished yet. Will you make it in time? Di Hengyun looked worried. There were many restrictions in this competition. Once the time was up, even if the pill was successfully refined, there would be no results. I don't think so. The Di in Crane's voice sounded uncertain. Below the high platform, Lin Yi and others saw that most of the pharmacists on the stage had stopped, but Bailey Hongzhuang still didn't stop. Worried expressions appeared on their faces. Chapter 4737. Di Qiyuan and the others couldn't help but worry. Once the time was up, no matter how high the grade of the pill was, it would be useless. Don't worry, it's not time yet, Di Beichen slowly said. Jun Lingxuan and the others saw this scene, and their eyes lit up with hope again. As long as Bailey Hongzhuang couldn't finish in the time limit, they would win. Even if Bailey Hongzhuang's results were outstanding in the first 2 rounds, if she didn't get a result in this round, it would be impossible for her to enter the top 100. It seems that Bailey Hongzhuang was just lucky in the first 2 rounds. Her true alchemy skills are not enough. Jun Zitao's eyes flashed with joy. This kind of result was more normal. If Bailey Hongzhuang was really that outstanding, it would be really unacceptable. If Bailey Hongzhuang doesn't get a result in this round, then the Di family's pride would be meaningless. The Jun family couldn't help but be happy because there wasn't much sand left in the hourglass. At the judges' table, the Alchemist Guild's president and the various honorary guild masters were also paying attention to Bailey Hongzhuang's situation. From the performance of the first 2 rounds, Bailey Hongzhuang had successfully entered their sights. As long as Bailey Hongzhuang's performance in this round was good, they could be sure that Bailey Hongzhuang would enter the top 100 and obtain a good result. At this moment, Seeing that Bailey Hongzhuang still hadn't finished refining, they were a little anxious. This girl's talent is very outstanding. If she doesn't make it in time in this round, then it would be a pity. That's right. Even if she only refined a 7th grade pill, or even a 6th grade pill, she should still be able to enter the top 100. Did you notice that the ratio of the herbs she took out was not the pill formula we know? Li Yuhai said, as early as when Bailey Hongzhuang started refining pills, he had already noticed this point. In his heart, he had been thinking about what kind of pill she was refining. Hearing Lu Yuhai's words, the other elders nodded. They had also noticed this point. I feel that this Miss Bailey from the lower realm is very unusual. Whether it is knowledge or ability, she is very outstanding. This time, even we were unable to recognize the pill she refined. This is really a pleasant surprise. I hope she can make it in time, said another honorary elder. Everyone nodded. With such a talented person, they also hoped that he would be able to achieve good results. The sand in the hourglass was about to run out, and the faces of the Jun family members were filled with smiles of joy. Jun Zitao's face was full of smiles. It seemed like his bet was a success after all. Translator, Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation. Just as Jun Zitao spoke, Di Beichen's cold voice rang out. You're thinking too much. As soon as these words came out, Jun Zitao couldn't help but be stunned. Just as he was about to refute, he found that Bailey Hongzhuang had already stopped. Obviously, she had finished refining. How could this be? Jun Zitao was dumbfounded. How could the timing be so good? She actually completed the refining at the last moment. Everyone in the Jun family felt as if there was an invisible hand strangling their throats. The originally happy cheers were strangled just like that, and they could no longer speak. Chapter 4738. Second cousin-in-law is playing with my heartbeat. I almost died from anxiety. Linny couldn't help but say. Lin Xianqian laughed involuntarily. In the future, when you are with Hongzhuang, your psychological endurance is really good. Otherwise, it will be unbearable to be surprised and frightened at the same time. After Bailey Hongzhuang stopped, she found that the sand in the hourglass on the side had flowed out. She couldn't help but sigh in her heart. Fortunately, I made it in time. If I make a mistake in this last level, it will be terrible. Di Yunhe and Di Hingyun were originally anxious to death. Until this moment, they breathed a sigh of relief. Second madam, you made us anxious. Bailey Hongzhuang turned her head and smiled brightly. Sorry to make you worry. In fact, she had not refined the 8 turns Bodhi pill much. When she was refining, she found that it took a long time to refine a better quality 8 turns Bodhi pill. Fortunately, she made it in time. Looking at the apologetic look on Bailey Hongzhuang's face, Di Yunhe and Di Hingyun's heart softened. Our second madam is so nice. She is so capable without any sense of arrogance. How can we not like such a good girl? In the future, if someone in the Di family dares to bully the second madam, they will definitely be the first to stand up and disagree. If the second madam does not have a family in the upper realm, they will be the second madam's family in the future. When Alchemist Qin saw that Bailey Hongzhuang completed the refining at the last moment, he also secretly scolded in his heart. God is really blind. Just a little bit more, and he would have one. With a loud voice, the time was up. In this last round, the system scoring is very simple. The 6th grade medicinal pill will be scored from 0 to 40 points. The 7th grade medicinal pill will be scored from 40 to 60 points. The 8th grade medicinal pill will be scored from 60 to 80 points, and the 9th grade medicinal pill will be scored from 80 to full marks. Hearing this scoring standard, Bailey Hongzhuang immediately understood. Sure enough, the score in this last round was very wide. There was a direct difference of 40 points between the medicinal pills of different grades. Previously, she wasn't too sure why a 7th-tier alchemist's chances of winning were so low. Now, she finally understood. In the first 2 rounds, it was obviously very difficult to pull apart the scores. However, in the 3rd round, the highest score for a 7th grade medicinal pill was only 60 points. The 8th grade medicinal pill directly exceeded 20 points. This kind of gap was simply impossible to make up for. Fortunately, there weren't many ninth-grade alchemists on the field. Otherwise, this would be the world of ninth-grade alchemists. Low-grade alchemists wouldn't have a chance at all. The grading time for medicinal pills is rather long. Fellow alchemists can wait below the stage. Seeing this, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others walked down the stage and returned to the team. As they walked down, the members of the D family gave up their seats. Hongzhuang, 7th elder, 8th elder, you've all worked hard. Take a rest. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang and the other two smiled and sat down to rest at the request of everyone. How is it? Are you confident in this final round? Everyone couldn't help but ask. Bailey Hongzhuang and the two elders looked at each other and said in unison, "Let's see the results later. Why are you still keeping us in suspense at this last moment?" Lin Yi muttered. She was now more concerned about the D family's results than her own results. The medicinal pill is refined, but we don't know the score. Let's wait for the results, Di Hingyun said with a smile. Chapter 4739. While they were waiting, the entire grandstand was bustling with activity. Everyone was trying to guess the final result. While Bailey Hongzhuang was waiting, she saw a familiar figure in the distance, and her eyes suddenly lit up. Beichun, is that the Bailey family? Di Beichun looked in the direction Bailey Hongzhuang was pointing at. He immediately noticed a familiar figure. Bailey Yunyan. The 100 Lane clan was some distance away from where they were. Previously, he had been looking around, but he hadn't noticed it. At this moment, because the alchemist on the high platform had come down, he was able to see a relatively distant place. That should be it. Di Beichun smiled. Looking at the Bailey family, Bailey Hongzhuang understood that the arrangement of the seats was based on the family's power. Compared to the D family's position, the Bailey family's position was much worse. This also showed that Bailey Hongzhuang's power could not be compared to the D family's. Thinking back, the Bailey family was one of the top families. She wondered if the Bailey family that Bailey Yunyan belonged to was her own Bailey family. When this thought appeared in her mind, she couldn't suppress it. If possible, she really wanted to find out. Looking at Bailey Hongzhuang's thoughtful expression, Di Beichun could guess what she was thinking. He couldn't help but ask, "Wife, are you thinking about your previous family?" Bailey Hongzhuang nodded. "It's been so many years. I don't know if they still exist. Since we've come to the upper realm, we'll have a chance to find out. Wife, there's no need to rush. After the alchemy competition ends, we'll find a chance to ask Miss Yunyan about it." Di Beichun's gaze was gentle. If his wife wanted to do something, he would do it with her. He wouldn't let her have any regrets. A warm smile appeared in Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes. Okay. After returning to her senses, Bailey Hongzhuang realized that Bailey Yunyan had also seen her and was smiling at her. Seeing this, Bailey Hongzhuang also nodded in response. They had not seen each other for a while since they had parted. However, she noticed that Bailey Yunyan's gaze was more focused on Di Xiaofeng, who was behind her. Lin Yi was surrounding Di Xiaofeng at this moment. In fact, as long as Di Xiaofeng was there, Lin Yi's eyes could not tolerate anyone else. Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichun looked at each other helplessly. This was Di Xiaofeng's own love dead, and they couldn't do anything about it. It looks like Yi is going to be sad. Xiaohei sighed inwardly. Although it didn't have a high EQ, it knew that Di Xiaofeng and Bailey Yunyan loved each other. Just thinking of Lin Yi's cute appearance, it didn't want to see her sad appearance. In fact, Yi is so cute. There are many men who like her. Bailey Hongzhuang sighed. With Lin Yi's likable personality, it would be true happiness if she met a man who doted on her. Di Beichun held Bailey Hongzhuang's small hand and said, "What should be experienced will be experienced. In fact, it may not be a bad thing for Yi. When she meets the person who only has her in his heart, she will understand." Chapter 4740. At the judges' table, the 5 honorary presidents were examining the pills one by one and giving their scores. Because there were more people, it took a little longer. However, when it came to the pill refined by Bailey Hongzhuang, the 5 alchemists were stumped. Looking at the perfectly round pill in front of them with 8 patterns on it, they couldn't help but feel troubled. "President, I have to ask you to come over." Lu Yuhai also noticed the expressions of the 5 alchemists. He had planned to come over and take a look, but when he heard this voice, he immediately walked over. "What's the problem?" "President, look at this pill." Shui Zhangdong pointed at the pill in front of him and said, "This pill doesn't seem to be the kind of pill we usually come across." Hearing this, Lu Yuhai couldn't help but be stunned. There was actually a pill that could stump the 5 honorary presidents. However, when he looked at the pill in front of him, he also couldn't help but feel troubled. Just as Shui Zhangdong said, he really didn't recognize this pill. "What kind of pill is this?" Shui Zhangdong looked puzzled. Judging from the color and aura, this pill's grade is probably not low. Moreover, there are 8 patterns on it, which proves that the refinement was perfect. Which alchemist refined this? Lu Yuhai couldn't help but ask. "President, this was refined by Miss Bailey from the D family." "Oh, so it was her." Lu Yuhai suddenly understood. When he saw Bailey Hongzhuang refining it, he already felt that the pill refined was not simple. As expected, it was something they didn't know. In fact, he kept thinking about the medicinal herbs that Bailey Hongzhuang had taken out to refine. Finally, a possibility appeared in his mind. "I think this pill might be the long-lost 8 Revolutions Bodhi pill." Following Lu Yuhai's words, shock appeared on the faces of the 5 alchemists present. 8 Revolutions Bodhi pill? Shui Zhangdong was stunned. This pill has been lost for a long time. Even if many alchemists want to restore this pill formula, no one has succeeded. How could it appear? The pill formula of the 8 Revolutions Bodhi pill has indeed been lost for many years. No one in the upper realm knows about it. But don't forget, this Lady Bailey came from the lower realm. She might have obtained the inheritance of the 8 Revolutions Bodhi pill. Lu Yuhai, on the other hand, did not find this strange. Back then, the upper realm and the lower realm were originally the same world. It was only later that they separated. However, this didn't mean that what the upper realm didn't have, the lower realm didn't. Take a closer look. According to the records in the ancient books, the 8 Revolutions Bodhi pill has a sweet fragrance. Its entire body is light green, and there are pill veins on it. The more pill veins there are, the better the effect of the 8 Revolutions Bodhi pill. At most, there will be 8 pill veins. The pill in front of you is like that. After Lu Yuhai's reminder, the description of the 8 Revolutions Bodhi pill appeared in everyone's minds. Sure enough, all the characteristics matched up. It is said that the 8 Revolutions Bodhi pill is called the 8 Revolutions Bodhi pill, but it is very difficult to refine 8 pill veins. Generally, it is very good to be able to refine 6 pill veins. Could this be a perfect 8 Revolutions Bodhi pill? Shui Zhangdong couldn't help but exclaim. If this was true, then Bailey Hongzhuang's alchemy skills were probably more powerful than they had thought. Lu Yuhai nodded. It's very possible. Chapter 4741. The alchemy competition was an extremely important competition. Every major force was participating, so they couldn't afford to make any mistakes during the grading. If Bailey Hongzhuang really refined a perfect 8 Revolutions Bodhi pill, then her score would naturally be raised. Hearing this suggestion, the other 4 alchemists nodded in agreement. That's right. We must clarify this matter. Otherwise, we won't be able to give everyone an explanation. Seeing that everyone agreed with this suggestion, Lu Yuhai nodded. Then I'll go and ask. Everyone below the stage was waiting for the final grading result. This would determine each family's quota. Therefore, they had been paying close attention to the situation at the judges' table. Suddenly, they saw the Alchemist Guild's president walk down the stage. When the alchemists behind him walked down as well, a strange expression appeared on everyone's faces. What's President Lu doing? Why did he suddenly run down without grading? That's right. Why did the other judges run down as well? What are they trying to do? This old man has watched so many alchemy competitions, but this is the first time I've seen such a situation. For a moment, everyone's attention was attracted by the actions of Lu Yuhai and the others. At such a time, it was difficult for such actions not to attract attention. Bewitching and the others also noticed this scene. Most importantly, they realized that Lu Yu Hai and the others seemed to be heading towards them. Beichin, why do I feel that President Liu and the others are walking towards us? Di Xiaofeng frowned and couldn't help but ask. Di Beichin also looked at him and nodded. I have the same feeling. As he said that, he couldn't help but turn his gaze towards Bailey Hongzhuang. If Liu Yu Hai and the others were really walking towards them, then the person they were looking for could only be Bailey Hongzhuang. Everyone from the Jun family and Xiao family also noticed this scene, and their eyes lit up. However, they didn't know if it was a good or bad thing for Liu Yu Hai and the others to come over. Alchemist Qin's eyes lit up with pleasant surprise. Could it be that they discovered something wrong with Bailey Hongzhuang during the competition? One had to know that the alchemy competition had been held so many times, but such a thing had never happened before. Something must have gone wrong. Soon, Liu Yu Hai and the others arrived in front of the Di family. Elder Di. Liu Yu Hai looked at Di Qiyuan with a smile on his face. Guild Master Liu. Di Qiyuan hurriedly replied with a smile. As the president of the Alchemist Association, Liu Yu Hai's status was equivalent to the head of an aristocratic family. Even he had to be very respectful when facing him. Moreover, medicinal pills were something that every family needed. Hence, no one was willing to obtain the Alchemist Association. I came here at this moment to ask Miss Bailey a question. Liu Yu Hai's attitude was very cordial. He had always been very patient with genius alchemists. Seeing that Liu Yu Hai was indeed looking for Bailey Hongzhuang, everyone's expression became complicated. Bailey Hongzhuang cupped her hands and said, "Greetings, President Liu. Greetings, honorary presidents." Liu Yu Hai smiled faintly and waved his hand. Miss Bailey doesn't need to be so reserved. To be honest, we came here to ask about the medicinal pill you refined this time. I'm ashamed to say this, but is the pill you refined the 8 Revolutions Bodhi pill? Chapter 4742. What kind of joke is this? President Liu and the others don't know what kind of pill Bailey Hongzhuang is refining? I've never seen President Liu and the others like this before. This is too unbelievable. 8 Revolutions Bodhi pill. Even more cultivators shifted their attention to the pill. Although this pill had been lost for a long time, everyone was familiar with its name. Wasn't the 8 Revolutions Bodhi pill lost a long time ago? Could it be that Bailey Hongzhuang has successfully refined it? That's impossible. All these years, many alchemists have tried to recreate the 8 Revolutions Bodhi pill, but they've never succeeded. If Bailey Hongzhuang is really refining the 8 Revolutions Bodhi pill, doesn't that mean that she has the lost pill formula? Suddenly, a fiery or suspicious gaze fell on Bailey Hongzhuang's body, all of them wanting to know the real result. If this was true, it would be incredible. One had to know that this pill was something that everyone desperately needed. When the Di family heard this news, they were all dumbfounded. Di Yunho was even more shocked. Second Madam actually refined the 8 Revolutions Bodhi pill? Di Hingyun was also astonished. He didn't know whether this was true or not. Under everyone's passionate gazes, Bailey Hongzhuang smiled and nodded. That's right. It's the 8 Revolutions Bodhi pill. After receiving Bailey Hongzhuang's confirmation, Liu Yu Hai and the others sighed in their hearts. It seemed that their judgment was correct. I see. I didn't expect Miss Bailey to have the 8 Revolutions Bodhi pill formula at such a young age. She's really amazing. Liu Yu Hai praised Bailey Hongzhuang without hiding anything. He secretly decided that he would definitely pay her a visit after the alchemy competition. Not to mention that Bailey Hongzhuang was a talent that they wanted to rope in. The 8 Revolutions Bodhi pill formula was also very important to the Alchemist Guild. If Bailey Hongzhuang was just a junior worth roping in before, then now Bailey Hongzhuang was a talent that they must rope in. Following Bailey Hongzhuang's words, the crowd went into an uproar. Linny didn't know what to say to express her feelings at this moment. She just looked at the calm and indifferent Bailey Hongzhuang. She felt that her second cousin-in-law was too abnormal. Thinking back to the time when second cousin-in-law cured her aunt, she had already sighed in her heart. Bailey Hongzhuang was able to cure the disease that so many doctors were unable to cure. Now, Bailey Hongzhuang was able to easily take out the long-lost elixir that everyone was envious of. She suddenly felt that her second cousin-in-law was a treasure. It seemed that anything could happen to her. President Liu is overpraising me. I'm just lucky to have this pill formula. However, at this moment, everyone was not in the mood to listen to Bailey Hongzhuang's details. There was only one thought in their minds. That was Bailey Hongzhuang had the 8 Revolutions Bodhi pill formula. Every family had many cultivators stagnant in their cultivation. The 8 Revolutions Bodhi pill had always been the elixir that everyone yearned for. Now it had appeared. Everyone's heart couldn't help but shine with hope. This was their gospel. Chapter 47-43. The 8 Revolutions Bodhi pill. Jun Xianxiao muttered to himself. How could the D family possibly have this lost pill formula? Great Elder, I recall that the D family doesn't have this pill formula. Could it be that Bailey Hongzhuang's pill formula belongs to her? Jun Lingshuan revealed an incredulous expression. He also understood that if the D family really did have this lost pill formula, they would have taken it out long ago. They wouldn't have waited until now. Thus, there was only one possibility left. This pill formula belonged to Bailey Hongzhuang herself. When he recalled how Bailey Hongzhuang had easily obtained a radiant vine in the underground market, he still couldn't figure out how she had done it. However, based on the current situation, since Bailey Hongzhuang possessed the lost pill formula, she must have many valuable items. Not to mention anything else, just this long-lost pill was already full of temptation to others. Jun Xuanxiao's expression turned solemn. If that's really the case, then this Bailey Hongzhuang is somewhat frightening. Previously, he had never placed Bailey Hongzhuang in his eyes. He simply didn't need to pay attention to an ant like her. However, in this alchemy competition, Bailey Hongzhuang had practically overshadowed everyone else. Even Ouyang Jifeng, who had always been sought after by everyone, had been completely overshadowed by Bailey Hongzhuang, becoming an existence in the background. This is impossible. Xiao Shou couldn't help but exclaim. She's just a woman from a lower realm. How could she possibly have a lost pill formula? She must have used some kind of pill to imitate the 8 Revolutions Bodhi pill. President Liu, don't be fooled by her. Xiao Shou felt that if she continued to stay here, her brain would become abnormal. Her previous performance was already unbelievable, and now, such news had spread. This was simply a fantasy, all right? For a moment, Xiao Shou felt that she must be dreaming. Otherwise, how could so many impossible things happen at the same time? Liu Yuhai admired Bailey Hongzhuang very much. When he heard Xiao Shou's words, he couldn't help but frown. Miss Liu, are you doubting my judgment? It wasn't just guild leader Liu. The other apothecaries also had ugly expressions on their faces. Although they also knew that Xiao Shou was questioning Bailey Hongzhuang, these words were also questioning their poor eyesight. They couldn't even distinguish the types of medicinal pills. Hearing Liu Yuhai's words, Xiao Shou was slightly taken aback. Xiao Jinfeng, who stood to the side, hurriedly said, President Liu, she was just speaking nonsense in a moment of desperation. I hope you don't take it to heart. Seeing this, Liu Yuhai did not say anything further. He had also heard of the conflict between Xiao Shou and Bailey Hongzhuang. He treated it as a dispute between the younger generation and could not be bothered to say anything more. Xiao Jinfeng broke out in cold sweat. Even their Xiao family couldn't easily offend a colossus like the Apothecary Association. President Liu, I don't mean to doubt you, but do you think that she would have such a precious pill formula? Xiao Shou couldn't help but ask. Not only Xiao Shou, but many cultivators present also had the same doubts. This pill formula was not available in the entire upper realm, yet a woman from a lower realm actually had it. It was truly inconceivable. Bailey Hongzhuang indifferently glanced at Xiao Shou. She realized that this woman was really stubborn. Chapter 47-44. The sudden voice attracted everyone's attention. Everyone was curious about who would stand up and say such a thing at this time. Bailey Hongzhuang also had some doubts in her heart, but she felt that this voice was a bit familiar. For a time, everyone's eyes turned to the source of the voice. At this glance, Bailey Hongzhuang was surprised to find that the person who spoke was the old man who exchanged the light vine with her in the underground market a few days ago. Bewitching and others also looked at this figure in confusion, but they had never seen this person before. Hey, isn't this the stall owner in the underground market that day? Lin Yi looked at the familiar figure in surprise. She didn't expect to see him here. She didn't expect that the stall owner would stand up to testify at this time. Listening to Lin Yi's words, Bewitching and others understood. Who was this person? He actually stood up to testify at this time. What he said might not necessarily be believed by others. Just as the younger generation was questioning one after another, the older alchemists present looked at this figure and were stunned on the spot. Lu Yuhai looked at the figure behind him in surprise and said, "Old President, you finally appeared." Shui Zhongdong and other pharmacists all had a look of surprise on their faces. They looked at this figure in disbelief, worried that it might be an illusion. However, when Bailey Hongzhuang and others heard Lu Yuhai address the stall owner as the old president, they couldn't help but be dumbfounded. Even though Bailey Hongzhuang had expected that the identity of this old man was not simple, she didn't expect it to be to this extent. After all, it was not an ordinary cultivator who could take out the light vine and many precious herbs. It was just that the old president of the Pharmacists Guild was a big shot. Why would he think of setting up a stall in the underground market? Great Elder, is this the old president of the Pharmacists Guild? Bailey Hongzhuang couldn't help but ask. Di Chuyuan nodded slightly. His face was also stunned. Yes, he is President Ku Dekhang. He didn't expect that the person who did business with Bailey Hongzhuang would be Ku Dekhang. Old President, I finally meet you. Lu Yuhai didn't care about anything else at this moment and quickly walked in front of Ku Dekhang. Ku Dekhang waved his hand casually. What's there to be excited about seeing an old man like me? Old President. Lu Yuhai's eyes were slightly red, and a complicated light flashed in his deep eyes. A smile appeared on Ku Dechang's face as his gaze fell on Bailey Hongzhuang. This little girl is indeed not simple. As he spoke, Ku Dekhang gave Bailey Hongzhuang a knowing smile. Bailey Hongzhuang's face also showed an elegant smile. Although this identity made her very surprised, it was not a bad thing. Hearing this, Lu Yuhai and the others recovered from the surprise of seeing Ku Dekhang. Recalling what Ku Dekhang had said before, they couldn't help but ask, "Old President, what did you mean by what you said just now?" I said that I can testify for this girl. This girl does indeed have a lost pill formula. Ku Dekhang spoke again. The D family is really lucky to have such a daughter-in-law. As he spoke, Ku Dechang's gaze fell on Di Chuyuan. Di Chuyuan hurriedly cupped his hands. He knew that this old president was a very important person. Chapter 47-45. What kind of person was the Alchemist Association president? Even he was praising Bailey Hongzhuang. It could be seen how amazing Bailey Hongzhuang was. Di Chuyuan and the others were also pleasantly surprised. They never thought that their second young mistress would receive such praise from the old president. In comparison, the Xiao family and Jun family's expressions became abnormally ugly. Originally, in their opinion, killing Bailey Hongzhuang was no different from killing a grasshopper, but they did not expect that such a small character, who they did not put in their eyes, would jump so high in the alchemy competition. Old President, how can you prove that Bailey Hongzhuang has the lost pill recipe? Xiao So couldn't help but ask. Ku Dekhang looked at Xiao So meaningfully and said with a smile, "Old man, my hidden illness was cured by this Bailey girl's pill recipe. Could it be that the Xiao family's girl thinks that my ability to identify pills isn't as good as yours?" As Ku Dechang's voice fell, everyone immediately understood. Old President, has your hidden illness been cured? Lu Yuhai's voice was filled with excitement, and it even trembled a little. Ku Dekhang nodded. Back then, I said that if my hidden illness couldn't be cured, I wouldn't return. At the same time, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others couldn't help but look at the Great Elder. It was clear that among them, only the Great Elder knew about this old president. This President Ku Dekang is the previous president of the Alchemist Association. His alchemy skills can be said to be at the peak of perfection. It is said that he can already refine 10th grade pills. Once this was said, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others' eyes were filled with astonishment. Alchemy skills were the same as cultivation. The further one progressed, the harder it was to improve. Although there was only a difference of 1 grade between a 9th grade alchemist and a 10th grade alchemist, the majority of 9th grade alchemists were unable to refine 10th grade pills. It's just that something happened later. President Ku Dekang could no longer refine 10th grade pills. Since then, he announced his retirement and passed the position to President Liu. He has never appeared again. When this news came out at that time, it caused a great sensation. No one understood why President Ku Dekang chose to retire suddenly at that time. Now it seems that he has a hidden illness. Until this moment, Di Chuyuan connected all of this. It turned out that the problem was here. It turns out to be the case. Everyone was stunned. But in that case, isn't second cousin-in-law more powerful? Lin Yi couldn't help but say the problem that President Ku Dekang couldn't solve for so many years was solved by second. With Lin Yi's words, everyone's eyes were looked at her. That was the case. After everyone knew Ku Dekang's identity, no one doubted his words anymore. After all, as the former president of the Alchemist Association, it was absolutely impossible for him to fake this kind of thing and do something that would damage his reputation. So, I'm afraid that Bailey Hongzhuang has more than one kind of lost pill recipe. Yes, this 8 turns Bodhi pill is a kind of medicinal pill to treat the old president's hidden illness. It is another kind. Bailey Hongzhuang has too many treasures. If that's the case, I'm really starting to envy the D family. They're just too lucky. Chapter 47-46. When I saw the Jun family and the Xiao family joining forces, I thought the D family would be in trouble this time. Now, it seems that the D family will not be in trouble. On the contrary, they may even increase their influence because of this. Yes, the situation this time has really taken a turn. If we don't see the end, we won't be able to tell who the real winner is. It was not until this moment that everyone understood why the D family made such a decision. It turned out that they had already considered it carefully. Their previous judgment had been wrong. How could a giant like the D family take the risk to make such an outrageous move without thinking about it properly? They were still too naive. However, just as everyone thought so, the members of the D family sighed in their hearts. Like everyone else, they just found out that Bailey Hongzhuang had so many trump cards. Obviously, even if they explained now, no one would believe them. Jun Xinxiao looked at Di Chuyuan gloomily. I haven't seen you for a while. I didn't expect your acting skills to improve so much. Thank you for the compliment, Di Chuyuan said indifferently. Since no one would believe him, even if he explained, he might as well admit it directly. Anyway, Bailey Hongzhuang was already their second young madam. Even if others were envious, they could not do anything about it. Little Bailey, I owe you a favor. Ku Dekang looked at Bailey Hongzhuang with a smile. Compared to the way he looked at others, the way he looked at Bailey Hongzhuang was obviously gentler and more amiable. Bailey Hongzhuang cupped her hands and said, Senior, you are too polite. The deal we made back then has already been completed. You don't owe me anything. Back then, she had seen through Ku Dekang's hidden illness and chose to give him the pill formula. If not, Ku Dekang would not have agreed to the deal so quickly. He did not even have the time to consider it. Looking at Bailey Hongzhuang's magnanimous appearance, Ku Dekang's eyes were filled with admiration. Little Bailey, although the value of what I gave you is not low in my eyes, is far from being comparable to what you gave me. You're not someone who likes to take advantage of others, so this old man naturally won't take advantage of you. Therefore, I owe you this favor. You don't have to say anything more. If you need this old man's help in the future, feel free to ask. Ku Dekang's tone was resolute, not giving Bailey Hongzhuang any chance to refuse. Seeing this, Bailey Hongzhuang was slightly taken aback. From the other party's attitude, she understood that if she continued to speak, it would only make Dekang unhappy. Therefore, she did not say anything more. "Thank you, senior. That's more like it." Dekang revealed a satisfied look. Liu Yuhai and the others never thought that the person who cured the old president would be Bailey Hongzhuang, and their hearts were filled with gratitude. Until now, Dekang was still the only alchemist who was able to refine Tier 10 medicinal pills. Him being able to return had a great significance to the Alchemist Association. "Miss Bailey, you cured the old president's hidden illness. Our entire Alchemist Association owes you a favor." Liu Yuhai's gaze was deep and his voice was sincere. He thanked Bailey Hongzhuang from the bottom of his heart. If it wasn't for Bailey Hongzhuang, he did not know if he would have a chance to see the old president in this lifetime. One must know that the old president had done him a great favor. Bailey Hongzhuang was stunned. Liu Yuhai's reaction was also out of her expectations. However, this was also a good thing to her. Chapter 47-47. The cultivators of the D family looked at Bailey Hongzhuang and didn't know what to say. They felt as if a pie had fallen from the sky and smashed onto their heads. The Alchemist Guild suddenly owed them a favor. Although it was owed to Bailey Hongzhuang was now a member of the D family. Was there anything more surprising than this? "Sister-in-law, you really are our D family's lucky star." Di Xiaofeng couldn't help but say. Originally, they were bound to lose this time, but Bailey Hongzhuang had completely turned the situation around. Now, not only were they not at a disadvantage, they were even in the limelight. Among the many forces, which family could be more famous than them? As soon as this was said, whether it was the cultivators of the D family or the Lin family, they couldn't help but nod. In their eyes, Bailey Hongzhuang was a shining lucky star. After confirming that Bailey Hongzhuang was refining the 8 Revolutions Bodhi pill, Liu Yuhai and the others didn't continue to stay here. After all, the most important thing now was to evaluate the points of the alchemy competition. Compared to the previous silence, the audience couldn't be quiet anymore. Many of the families that were on good terms with the D family were now secretly regretting it. Their relationship with the D family was originally very good, but after knowing that the Xiao family and the Jun family had joined forces, they subconsciously kept some distance from the D family. Who would have thought that there would be such a reversal in the end? However, even if they tried to get closer to the D family now, they were afraid that the D family would still have a thorn in their hearts. The Murong family originally had some opinions about Murong Jing being so close to Di Xiaofeng at this time. But at this moment, they felt that Murong Jing's actions were really right. Not long after, Liu Yuhai stood up from the referee's seat. He looked at the crowd below the high platform and said, to everyone's anticipation, the results are out. Everyone's faces were either filled with nervousness or anticipation. Only the top 100 would be able to obtain a place to enter the immortal cloud mystic realm. As long as they were alchemist clans who had persevered until the very end, they would inevitably be filled with anticipation. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others also looked at the huge black stone on the high platform. The names of the top 100 alchemists would appear on it. 100th place, Mo Dingling, points, 90, 65, 75, total score, 230. 99th place, He Jun. His scores were 91, 64, and 78. His total score was 233. One after another, the names of the pharmacists appeared on the black stone from bottom to top. All the clans who discovered that the names of their own alchemists had appeared at the top of the rankings. Although their points were at the bottom of the rankings, and they did not have many slots, the slots to enter the Immortal Cloud secret realm were already very difficult to obtain. Even if they were able to obtain one more slot, it would still be a joyous occasion. Moreover, this was not only related to the quota. On the other hand, it also reflected the ability of their own alchemists, which was helpful in increasing the clan's influence. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others' gazes were all focused on the black stone. They discovered that as the rankings were getting closer and closer to the front, the gap between the points was getting smaller and smaller. There were even 2 decimal places after the decimal point. The closer it is to the front, the smaller the gap between the points between the cultivators. Often, a difference of a few tenths of a point can lead to a difference in the rankings. Di Chuyuan slowly said. Soon the last 50 names were all displayed. Chapter 47-48. This guy was very arrogant when he was in the D family. He didn't take Di Yunhe and Di Yunis seriously at all. Now that they were both level 8 alchemists, Di Hongyan wanted to know how big the gap was between them. Although Alchemist Qin had been a level 8 alchemist for a long time and had more experience than them, since they were both level 8 alchemists, the gap shouldn't be too big. Alchemist Qin also noticed Di Hongyan's gaze and said coldly, "Why are you looking at me? Do you think you can surpass me? Why are you so arrogant? Even if I'm not your opponent, you can't compare to our second madam." Di Hongyan sneered. "You were so arrogant when you left the D family. I want to see how much you can bring to the Jun family. Then wait patiently. At least it's better than you and Di Yunhe. After so many years, you're still level 7 alchemists. I think you'll be stuck here for the rest of your lives." Di Yunhe turned around and said with a smile, "Alchemist Qin, you're wrong. Let me tell you, we're already level 8 alchemists. Don't think you're so great just because you're in level 8 alchemist. You used to be so arrogant in front of us and said we weren't talented enough. Now it seems like you need to improve your vision." Alchemist Qin was stunned. At this moment, he didn't care about Di Yunhe's mockery. He focused all his attention on the fact that Di Yunhe had become a level 8 alchemist. "Are you kidding?" Alchemist Qin sneered. "Even if you want to show off, you don't have to exaggerate things like this. You should know that it's easy to see through this. Level 8 alchemists at the same time? You two? You must be dreaming." "Ha!" Yunhe chuckled. "We've always been honest people. We're not like you. This kind of thing can't be faked. The results will be out soon. Open your dog eyes and see." Di Yunhe and Di Hongyun ignored Alchemist Qin. When they thought about how arrogant this guy was in front of them before, they felt a burst of displeasure. Today, they could be considered to be able to completely turn the tables. If Alchemist Qin had heard Di Yunhe's conversation before, he wouldn't have taken it to heart. However, after being slapped in the face again and again, he felt that something was wrong with him. Could it be that what the other party said was true? Advancing to become an 8th-tier alchemist was not an easy task, not to mention that both of them had advanced at the same time. Alchemist Qin thought about it for a while, but he still felt that it was impossible. 27th place, Di Hongyan. 8th Elder, you are 27th. The members of the D family were pleasantly surprised. One had to know that this quota was enough to help the D family obtain many quotas to enter the Immortal Cloud's secret realm. Most importantly, in their opinion, it was basically impossible for the 8th Elder to enter the top 100. Now, not only did he enter, but his score was also so high. How could they not be surprised? Di Hongyan also smiled happily. In fact, he had been a little worried before he saw his name. Chapter 47-49. Only at this moment did he completely relax. However, such a ranking still made him feel incomparably pleasantly surprised. Hongyan, look, you got 77 points in the 3rd round. Di Yunhe paid more attention to Di Hongyan's score. Not to mention the first 2 rounds. The 3rd round score was already shocking enough. Logically speaking, they had just become level 8 alchemists. Even if they had successfully refined level 8 elixirs, their score shouldn't be too high. But now, Di Hongyan had reached 77 points. This was unbelievable in their eyes. Hearing Di Yunhe's words, Di Hongyan also noticed this point. His eyes suddenly flashed with a trace of surprise. "Yeah, I didn't expect my score to be so high. No wonder my ranking is so high." Di Hongyan thought carefully for a moment. If it was any other time, this would be impossible. "Yunhe, in my opinion, this is caused by the alchemy skills that second young madam taught us. When I was refining, I felt that the quality of the elixirs was better than the ones we refined before." Di Hongyan thought and said. Di Yunhe nodded slightly. "We have the same thought." After thinking about it, they couldn't think of any other reason. When they heard Bailey Hongzhuang telling them the details of refining elixirs, they were very shocked. This method was quite different from what they usually did. Now, it seemed that the effect was better than they thought. Alchemist Qin was shocked when he saw Di Hongyun's score. This was because the score in the third round proved that Di Hongyun had refined a level 8 elixir. Moreover, the quality of the elixirs was very outstanding. How could this be? Alchemist Qin was in disbelief. When he was in the Di family, he clearly knew that Di Hongyun was a level 7 alchemist. Not only that, according to what he knew, Di Hongyun was not only a level 7 alchemist, but also a level 8 alchemist. How could Di Hongyun reach this level in such a short time? Jun Xianxiao and the others were also stunned when they saw that Di Hongyun was ranked 27th. They didn't take Di Hongyun seriously at all. They thought that it was impossible for him to enter the top 100. However, the 27th place on the ranking board blinded them. How did Di Hongyun achieve such a ranking? Jun Xianxiao could no longer remain calm. He's just a 7th grade alchemist. It's impossible for him to enter the top 100. Xiao Jinfeng also had a puzzled look on his face. This matter is indeed a little strange. According to what they knew, the Di family did not have a level 8 alchemist. It was precisely because of this that the Di family had wanted to exchange a few places with them, but they had refused. If Di Hongyun was an 8th tier alchemist, then the Di family wouldn't have needed to do such a thing. 26th place, Qin Shixin, point for the 3 rounds. 89, 69, 79. 6. Then, Qin Shixin's name appeared on the ranking stone. This ranking doesn't seem to be that high. Chapter 4750. I thought this alchemist Qin was very powerful before. I didn't expect him to be as powerful as I thought. Linny couldn't help but say. Dijai's also glanced at Qin Shixin contemptuously. This guy was so arrogant when he was in our family. He always looked down on 7th Elder and 8th Elder. Now, his score is only 1 point higher than 8th Elder. I don't know why he was so arrogant before. It's ridiculous. Not only Dijai's, but everyone in the Di family had the same thought at this moment. If this guy was really so strong, they could accept his arrogance. However, he obviously didn't have such strength, yet he still put on such airs. That was really too much. Qin Shixin's face became extremely ugly after seeing his ranking. He didn't expect that he would have such a ranking. Logically speaking, with his strength, he should at least enter the top 20. He didn't expect that he would stop here this time. Most importantly, his ranking was only 1 place higher than Di Hongyun. Wasn't this a slap in the face? Everyone in the Jun family also looked at the score above in disbelief. They hoped that Qin Shixin could get a good result. Obviously, this was not a good result. If there was no bet with the Di family, it would be fine. Such a ranking could also win a very good quota for the Jun family. At least, the Jun family would have enough quotas and there would still be a surplus. But now, it was obviously not such a situation. Alchemist Qin, you told me before that you would definitely enter the top 20. Jun Xianxiao opened his thin lips, and his voice was already cold. They had spent a lot of money to invite Qin Shixin in the beginning. In order to bring down the Di family this time, they had invested a lot. However, such a result did not meet their expectations at all. Jun Lingxuan and others' faces were also ugly. From the moment they saw Qin Shixin's ranking, they knew that they had lost the bet this time, because Bailey Hongzhuang's ranking had not come out yet. No matter which round, Bailey Hongzhuang's results were better than Qin Shixin's. This meant that their quota this time would be given to the Di family. Thinking of this, everyone's face turned a little pale. Alchemist Qin, could it be that I'm the one who's been fooled? Are you actually a spy sent by the Di family? Jun Xianxiao narrowed his eyes. His sharp gaze shot straight at Qin Shixin, as if he could see through all his thoughts. Qin Shixin couldn't help but be stunned. He quickly waved his hand and said, "Great Elder, you have to believe me. I'm doing this for the Jun family wholeheartedly. I don't have any other thoughts." Jun Xianxiao snorted. "How can I believe such a result? Great Elder, I didn't perform well today." Qin Shixin explained anxiously, It's mainly because the D family situation was beyond my expectations. My state of mind was affected, so I couldn't perform well. Alchemist Sheen, you clearly told us that the D family doesn't have an 8th grade alchemist. What's the situation now? How did the 8th elder of the D family suddenly become a level 8 alchemist? Jun Lingshuan frowned as he looked at Qin Shixin. He also felt that there was something wrong with Qin Shixin. I don't know either. Qin Shixin couldn't help but feel anxious. When I was with the D family, he was really only a 7th grade alchemist. Chapter 4751. Qin Shixin nodded. That's right, great elder. It's possible. Bailey Hongzhuang went to the D family after I left. I can't control this. Maybe Di Hongyun was under too much pressure before, so he became an 8th grade alchemist at this stage. Jun Xianxiao frowned. What happened this time was very different from what they had expected. Now, the whole Jun family was waiting for them to bring back good news. Just thinking about it gave him a headache. At this moment, Jun Zitao and the others couldn't help but exclaim, "How is this possible?" Hearing this, Jun Xianxiao and the others couldn't help but look at the rankings. There were 3 words written on the 25th place, Di Yunhe. Jun Xianxiao stared at the name for a long time, then looked at Qin Shixin gloomily. What do you have to say now? If only Di Hongyun had reached the 8th grade, it might have been a coincidence. But both of them had reached the 8th grade, and they didn't know about it all. If Qin Shixin hadn't hidden it from them, there was no other possibility. Qin Shixin stared at the rankings in a daze. He even rubbed his eyes in disbelief. How is this possible? Di Yunhe and Di Hongyun had sandwiched him in the middle. At this moment, he didn't care that his score was lower than Di Yunhe's. He just wanted to explain to Jun Xianxiao. However, in this situation, no matter how he explained, it was useless. Even he couldn't believe it. The Jun family looked at Qin Shixin with hatred. They thought that it was a good plan to poach Medicine Master Qin, but they didn't expect that they would be tricked by the D family. After all this trouble, Qin Shixin turned out to be a member of the D family. No wonder they lost so badly. Feeling the Jun family's gaze, Qin Shixin stepped back with a pale face. He really couldn't explain it. Of course, this scene didn't escape the eyes of the D family. Suddenly, they felt a burst of joy. Qin Shixin deserved this kind of punishment for betraying them. At this moment, Di Beichen's voice suddenly rang out. Medicine Master Qin, you did a good job. We won't mistreat you. Qin Shixin was still thinking about how to explain, but when he heard Di Beichen suddenly say such a thing to him like a brother, and then looked at the Jun family's people who wished they could kill him, he really wanted to cry. But was his words useful now? Bailey Hongzhuang looked at Di Beichen with a smile. Beichen, you're really good at tricking people. You have to pay for what you did. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang looked at Qin Shixin. Sure enough, after this incident, Qin Shixin was afraid that there was really no way out. The Jun family would never let him go. Under such circumstances, no other family would come forward to protect him. If he was a person who valued friendship and righteousness, there might be people who would stand up for him and protect him. However, it was obvious that people like him wouldn't have such loyal friends. When the Xiao family saw that the Jun family had turned against them, they all felt uncomfortable. They could have laughed at the Jun family, but now they were on the same side as the Jun family. There was no changing it. Chapter 4752. The Xiao family's alchemist performed well and reached the 16th place. If it were before, this ranking would definitely make them very happy, but now they couldn't be happy. The Lin family's alchemist ranking was relatively low, and the other alchemist was eliminated directly. However, Elder Lin was not in a hurry now, because the Jun family had won a lot of slots this time. With the close relationship between the two families, it was not a problem to get some slots from them. I was wondering if I could give you some slots. Now it seems that our Lin family is going to take advantage of you. Lin Xuanren couldn't help but smile. Di Qiyuan also laughed. No problem. Isn't this a simple matter? At this moment, he actually felt surprised. In the past, alchemy competition had always been their family's weakness. He didn't expect it to suddenly become their strength. It's already in the top 10, but the name of second cousin-in-law hasn't appeared yet. Linny couldn't help but rub her hands. Her face was full of excitement. The faces of Di Xiaofeng and others also showed a look of expectation. As a matter of fact, the top 10 were usually occupied by the 9th grade alchemists of the Alchemist Guild. The Di family had never gotten such a good ranking. Master, I don't know what place you will be. Xiao Hei's eyes flashed with excitement. In fact, such a result was already outstanding, but she always felt that her master's ranking would be better. Bailey Hongzhuang looked at the score on the ranking list and shook her head thoughtfully. I don't know, but I will know soon. After looking carefully, she found that Ouyang Jifeng's name had not appeared yet. It seems that Ouyang Jifeng is really powerful. According to the 7th Elder, the top 10 were basically all 9th grade alchemists. The reason why she could get such a good result was mainly that she got full marks in the second round. This Ouyang Jifeng could also enter the top 10, which showed his talent. 5th place, Ouyang Jifeng. Finally, everyone saw Ouyang Jifeng's name in anticipation. There was a burst of exclamations from the audience. With Ouyang Jifeng's age, he was able to obtain such a quota. In the future, he would definitely win the alchemy competition. Ouyang Jifeng is indeed a genius. Such a ranking is simply the pride of the younger generation. Ouyang Jifeng is indeed powerful. Originally, he was in the limelight in this alchemy competition. Who would have thought that Bailey Hongzhuang would suddenly appear? Now, he is not the most eye-catching one. Bailey Hongzhuang's ranking is still not out yet. This result is a little scary. Everyone discussed animatedly. Even the other grade 9 alchemists were practically ignored by everyone at this moment. After Ouyang Jifeng saw his ranking, his expression was very calm. He turned to look at Bailey Hongzhuang. Feeling the other party's gaze, Bailey Hongzhuang revealed a smile. Then, she saw Ouyang Jifeng give her a thumbs up. 3rd place, Zhou Yin. The 3 rounds of scores are 98, 90, 90. 2nd place, Heng Rue. The 3 rounds of scores are 98, 91, 90. Until now, Bailey Hongzhuang's name still had not appeared. Everyone already understood in their hearts. This is too scary. The Di family's Bailey Hongzhuang is actually 1st place? I have never heard of the alchemy competition being won by a 20-something alchemist. Chapter 4753. Everyone in the Di family had already expected that Bailey Hongzhuang's results would not be bad, but when they saw this result at this moment, they still couldn't believe it. Second cousin-in-law actually won 1st place. Lin Yi's eyes widened. This feeling was as if she had ascended to the clouds and stepped on the clouds. She was so happy that she couldn't believe that this was true. Di Xiaofeng and others also looked at Bailey Hongzhuang in astonishment. This score was indeed beyond all of their expectations. Not only them, but Bailey Hongzhuang couldn't help but be stunned for a moment when she heard this result. According to her judgment, it was already good enough to enter the top 5. She really didn't think about getting 1st place. Just when the Di family and the Lin family were immersed in joy, Xiao Sou's questioning voice suddenly sounded. This is impossible. There's a problem with the score. When everyone saw that Xiao Sou began to find trouble at this time, they were too lazy to pay attention to her. Because previously, whenever Bailey Hongzhuang had a good result, Xiao Sou would definitely find trouble. But it turned out that she was wrong in the end. Thinking about it, it was the same this time, so everyone was too lazy to take it to heart. Seeing that no one paid attention to her at all, Xiao Sou's face was also ashen. The highest score for an 8th grade medicinal pill is only 80 points. Even if Bailey Hongzhuang's score in the 3rd round reached 80 points, she can't surpass the score of the 2nd place. Xiao Se Wu raised her voice so that everyone around her could hear her clearly. She had reason and evidence to back up her words. Originally, no one paid attention to her, but after hearing her words at this moment, everyone calculated a little and found that what she said was really right. Yes, Miss Xiao is right. There is indeed a problem with this score. I didn't expect such a problem to appear in this alchemy competition. We must raise it. That scared me. So it was a calculation error. I was wondering how Bailey Hongzhuang could get first place at such a young age. That's just too shocking. Bailey Hongzhuang took a closer look at the second place's score after hearing the crowd's discussion. It was just as the crowd had said. Her score shouldn't be higher than the second place's. Just as everyone was guessing, the name of the first place was revealed. It was none other than Bailey Hongzhuang. First place, Bailey Hongzhuang. Her scores for the 3 rounds are 99,185 respectively. Everyone's attention was immediately attracted by Bailey Hongzhuang's score in the 3rd round. Sure enough, the score was calculated wrongly. Bailey Hongzhuang's score was actually 5 points higher. At the same time, some attentive cultivators also noticed another problem. Don't be anxious. Even if Bailey Hongzhuang took away the 5 point from the 3rd round, her score would still be the same as the second place's score. She could still be considered as tied for first place. Speaking of which, Bailey Hongzhuang is still in first place. Xiao Sou was originally feeling complacent about her discovery, but after listening to everyone's words, she took a closer look and the smile on her face dissipated a little. No matter what, there must be a problem with the score. Furthermore, being tied for first place would also pull Bailey Hongzhuang's limelight down a little. That's true. The crowd nodded. At this moment, Lu Yuhai stood up and waved his hand at the crowd who had raised their doubts. Instantly, the crowd quieted down. Chapter 4754. Hearing Lu Yuhai's words, everyone looked to the high platform, wondering what kind of explanation he would give. Bailey Hongzhuang was also confused, but she didn't feel disappointed at all. She never wanted to have any honor that didn't belong to her, not to mention that today's results had already exceeded her expectations. I believe everyone already knows that Bailey Hongzhuang refined the long-lost 8 Revolutions Bodhi pill. Lu Yuhai's voice sounded. Just because she refined a long-lost pill, she could get an extra 5 points? The cultivators below the stage couldn't help but question. In the alchemy competition, a difference of 1 point could make a difference in the rankings, let alone 5 points. The reason why she got an extra 5 points is not because she refined a long-lost pill. Everyone, please listen to me patiently. I believe some of you know about the 8 Revolutions Bodhi pill. This pill belongs to the 8th grade, and there's a reason why it's called the 8 Revolutions Bodhi pill. Every time a first revolution pill appears, an elixir pattern will appear. A perfect 8 Revolutions Bodhi pill will have 8 elixir patterns. In the rules of the alchemy competition, there has always been a rule. When an alchemist refines a perfect elixir, they can get an extra 5 points. As soon as these words were spoken, everyone present suddenly understood. However, this answer made them even more surprised. I heard that it's very difficult to refine a perfect elixir. This kind of elixir can maximize the medicinal effect. It's said that other than the old president, no other alchemist has been able to refine an elixir of this level. Could it be that Bailey Hongzhuang has done it? No way. Bailey Hongzhuang's talent is too amazing. Everyone's eyes fell on Bailey Hongzhuang. They didn't expect such a shock at the end of the alchemy competition. Di Yunhe and Di Hingyan looked at each other. Both of their eyes were filled with astonishment. There is indeed such a rule in the alchemy competition. However, no alchemist has been able to do so for so many years. Over time, everyone has forgotten about it, Di Yunhe said. I didn't expect second young mistress to have refined a real 8 turns Bodhi pill. This is really rare. Di Hingyan sighed. Lin Yi and other young disciples looked at Bailey Hongzhuang in amazement. Although they didn't know much about alchemy, they could tell how difficult it was to achieve this step from the stunned expressions of other alchemists. So many alchemists were unable to do it, yet Bailey Hongzhuang was able to do it. How formidable was this? After seeing the look of realization on everyone's face, Lu Yuhai's face also showed a smile. I believe that everyone should understand the origin of these scores now that I've explained it to this point. At this time, the alchemist ranked second spoke up. Miss Bailey is able to refine perfect grade medicinal pills. She is indeed worthy of such a score. This one is wholeheartedly convinced. After everyone saw that the second-ranked alchemist no longer had any objections, they all nodded their heads and accepted this result. Xiao So didn't expect such a result in the end. She couldn't help but ask the alchemist and her family, "Is it really so difficult to refine a perfect elixir?" Chapter 4755. Hearing this, Xiao Sou's body trembled and her face turned pale. She knew that it was not easy to refine a perfect grade pill, but she did not know how difficult it was. However, she knew how difficult it was to become a 10th grade pill refiner. If Bailey Hongzhuang could become a 10th grade pill refiner in the future, then just this point alone would make Bailey Hongzhuang a dazzling member of the younger generation. Ouyang Jifeng had always had a very high reputation among the younger generation. The reason was that everyone thought that he was very likely to become the next Tier 10 alchemist. Now, it was obvious that Bailey Hongzhuang's potential was more outstanding than Ouyang Jifeng's. She would definitely receive attention that would not be any less than Ouyang Jifeng's. If it was said that she had been arrogant and confident in front of Bailey Hongzhuang before, then all of this was slowly disappearing. At least, before she truly became the Saint of the Light Maiden, she no longer had the right to act arrogantly in front of Bailey Hongzhuang. Bailey Hongzhuang looked at Xiao Sou indifferently. Her family background was indeed enough to crush many others. However, when a person displayed enough outstanding talent, even if she did not have a background, she would still have an unshakable position. She would protect her man with her own hands. If she wanted to covet her man, she would have to see if she had the right to do so. Thus, the once-in-a-decade pill refining competition came to an end. After the results were announced, Bailey Hongzhuang and the two elders went up on stage to collect their identity cards to enter the Immortal Cloud's secret realm. This identity card was blank. Once a cultivator imbued their aura into the card, their information would be revealed. As the three of them walked down the stage, the faces of the D family were filled with joyful smiles. This time, the D family had really reaped a great harvest. When Qin Shixin came down with his identity card, his expression was extremely awkward. He had thought that today would be his day of limitless glory and that he would become the Jun family's guest of honor. He never thought that he would end up in such a situation. Looking at the identity card in his hand, he didn't feel any joy at all. On the contrary, he felt very miserable. After seeing Qin Shixin come down, Di Beichen looked at Jun Zitao. "Second young master of the Jun family, do you still remember our bet?" The moment these words came out, Jun Zitao's expression became very ugly. He really regretted it now. If he had known, he would never have made such a bet. She had always thought that the second young master of the D family was a good-for-nothing. Who would have thought that he was actually a wolf in sheep's clothing? This time, he was completely defeated by Di Beichen. Jun Zitao didn't answer Di Beichen. Instead, he looked at Jun Xianxiao, his face pale and powerless. First Elder, Jun Xianxiao naturally knew the stakes of this bet. He couldn't accept such an outcome. The Immortal Cloud's secret realm was an excellent opportunity for the young disciples of every family to gain experience. However, this time, there wasn't a single person left in the family, which obviously affected the development of their disciples. Elder Jun, I remember that before the start of the pill refining competition, you specifically reminded me of this bet. Now that you've lost, don't tell me that you're going to renege on your bet in front of everyone. Di Chuyuan chuckled. He glanced at the crowd behind him and looked at Jun Xianxiao with a faint smile. Jun Xianxiao looked at Di Chuyuan with a malicious gaze. The smile on his face was particularly glaring in his eyes. Here you go. Chapter 4756. Di Chuyuan held the identity card in his hand and smiled. Thank you so much, Elder Jun, for giving us such a big gift. Jun Xianxiao snorted and said, I'll return Qin Shixin to you as well. After that, Jun Xianxiao didn't want to look at Qin Shixin anymore. Everything had been ruined by Qin Shixin. Now, he really didn't want to see this guy anymore. Otherwise, He was afraid that he wouldn't be able to control his anger and would tear this guy apart in front of everyone. Let's go. Jun Lingxuan and the others glared at Di Beichen and the others before leaving with Jun Xianxiao. The Di family didn't care about the others' anger. On the contrary, they were in a good mood. When the surrounding big families saw that the Jun family's quota had all fallen into the hands of the Di family, their eyes shone with envy. The Di family is really the big winner of the alchemy competition this time. The number of quotas is terrifying. That's right. We've really watched a good show today. Who would have thought that the Jun family would still be defeated by the Di family in the end, even after scheming so much? The Di family probably won't be able to use up so many quotas. I think we should think of a way to use our resources to exchange for a few quotas from the Di family. For a moment, many families were excited. Compared to the Di family, who had so many quotas, most families only had a few quotas. It was not enough at all. There are so many quotas. Our family's disciples can't use them all. Di Xiaofeng's face was full of joy. If he hadn't seen it with his own eyes, he wouldn't have believed it. It seems that the family should be able to get a lot of good things this time. Di Chuyuan, who was always serious, was very happy at this moment. His image was completely different from usual. All of this is thanks to Hongzhuang. Dai Heoan looked emotional. If it weren't for Bailey Hongzhuang, how could they have achieved such results? Everyone nodded. In their hearts, Bailey Hongzhuang was the biggest contributor and their lucky star. I'm sure the patriarch and the others will be very surprised when they hear this news. Second madam, this is all thanks to you, Di Chuyuan said seriously. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled and said, I'm also a member of the Di family. This is what I should do. Hearing this, everyone laughed. All the gloominess from before completely dissipated at this moment. When Xiao Jinfeng and the others saw how proud the Di family was, they felt a little sad. Even though they had gained a lot this time, they still couldn't feel happy, because they had made an unwise decision. Let's go back and celebrate, Di Xiaofeng suggested. Everyone nodded in agreement. The alchemy competition had ended, and there was still some time before the opening of the Immortal Cloud Mystery Realm. During this period of time, they had to continue staying in Water Praying City and wait for the arrival of the other disciples of their clans. Sure, great, of course, everyone agreed. At this moment, the Bailey family's team slowly walked past the Di family's team. Bailey Union's gaze fell on Di Xiaofeng. In fact, she didn't pay much attention to the alchemy competition. Instead, she focused more on Di Xiaofeng. Chapter 4757. The most important thing was that in the process, just now, she found that there was always a delicate and lovely woman beside Di Xiaofeng. The two were obviously very close. She wanted to leave directly, but she couldn't help but look at Di Xiaofeng. Compared to a behemoth like the Di family, the Bailey family was just a small family. It was precisely because of this that she never thought that a character like Di Xiaofeng would like her. She always understood the huge gap between the two, but Di Xiaofeng's approach gradually made her greedy. Maybe it's really possible? However, looking at the radiant man at this moment, she deeply felt her insignificance. Di Xiaofeng also noticed Bailey Yunyan while talking, and his gaze suddenly changed a little. Big cousin, let's go. Lin Yi happily held Di Xiaofeng's hand. Today, we have to celebrate. We won't go home until we're drunk. This scene fell into Bailey Yunyan's heart, and a trace of bitterness appeared in her eyes. Yes, only such a woman is worthy to stand beside Di Xiaofeng, and I'm still too insignificant. Thinking of this, she lowered her head, no longer looked at Di Xiaofeng, and left with the family team. After noticing Bailey Yunyan's action, Di Xiaofeng pulled away Lin Yi's hand and said, "Wait for me." As soon as his voice fell, Di Xiaofeng quickly walked in the direction of Bailey Yunyan. However, Lin Yi looked at her empty hand, and a trace of loss quietly flashed in her dark eyes. Di Xiaofeng quickly walked to the Bailey family's team, and the children of the Bailey family were surprised after seeing Di Xiaofeng approaching. They couldn't get in touch with a character like Di Xiaofeng on normal days. Isn't this the young master of the Di family? Why is he approaching our team? It should be impossible for anyone in our family to know him. Could it be that someone has offended him? That would be troublesome. Just when the children of the Bailey family were guessing, Bailey Yinyin watched Di Xiaofeng's figure gradually approaching, but her heart was pounding. In the end, Di Xiaofeng stopped in front of Bailey Yinyin. Yinyin, something has happened. I have been staying in the family, so I couldn't tell you. Once I'm done with my family's business, I'll come and find you, okay? Di Xiaofeng's handsome face was filled with a warm smile. His gaze was shallow as he looked at Bailey Yinyin, but it was inexplicably moving. Bailey Yinyin stared blankly at Di Xiaofeng. She didn't expect Di Xiaofeng to come at this time. Moreover, he didn't seem to have changed at all. Most importantly, when she looked into his clear and resolute eyes, she suddenly felt that the distance between them had closed a little. The members of the Bailey family were dumbfounded when they saw this scene. From the looks of it, could it be that the young master of the D family likes Yunyin? Isn't this too explosive? If that's really the case, then it's a big deal. Wow, Yunyin is so lucky. I'm so jealous of her. A blush appeared on Bailey Yunyin's face. Under the envious gazes of the crowd, she said, yes. Chapter 4758. Compared to Bailey Yunyin's happiness at this moment, Lin Yi felt as if she had fallen into an ice cellar. Her eyes followed Di Xiaofeng all the time. After seeing Di Xiaofeng smile to Bailey Yunyin, her hands gradually became cold, and her face began to turn pale. She had never seen Di Xiaofeng smile and gaze. Although Di Xiaofeng was usually very kind to her, something was missing. She understood that it was love. Even though she already knew that Di Xiaofeng didn't like her, when she saw all this with her own eyes, her heart still felt like it was being cut by a knife. She had liked him for so many years. She was determined to marry him since she was a child. Now, he showed such a gentle smile to others. When Bailey Hongzhuang saw Di Xiaofeng go to Bailey Yunyin, her eyes fell on Lin Yi. Come to think of it, this incident must have hit Lin Yi hard. Sure enough, she saw the smile on Lin Yi's face gradually fade away. Her delicate face was pale, as if she had lost her soul. She couldn't help but frown and start to feel distressed. Although this situation was within their expectations, they still couldn't help but feel distressed when they saw Lin Yi like this. Seeing this, Lin Qianqian immediately walked to Lin Yi's side. She said with concern and distress, don't be sad." Bailey Hongzhuang also walked over and looked at Lin Yi worriedly. At this time, their comfort was powerless. Words were pale because, no matter what they said, they couldn't offset Lin Yi's heartache at this moment. Di Xiaofeng was very fast. After speaking, he quickly walked back. After seeing Di Xiaofeng coming back, Lin Yi smiled again as if nothing had happened. "Big cousin," Lin Yi opened her mouth, but she didn't ask in the end. "Big cousin, let's go back quickly. I'm starving to death." Di Xiaofeng looked at Lin Yi with a complicated expression, then nodded and said, "Okay, let's go back." Seeing this, Lin Qianqian and Bailey Hongzhuang glanced at each other, but they were even more distressed. Lin Yi was completely deceiving herself and numbing herself. She was unwilling to accept this reality. However, judging from the current situation, even if Lin Yi wanted to deceive him, she wouldn't be able to deceive him for long. Lin Taxing and the others were also aware of the situation and felt somewhat helpless. If it was something else, everyone could think of a way. But when it came to matters of the heart, even if they wanted to help, there was nothing they could do. The members of the Bailey family were completely immersed in disbelief, surprise, and envy. "Yinyin, where did you meet Di Xiaofeng? From the looks of it, he seems to like you." "What do you mean by seems? Isn't it obvious? He likes Yunyin." "Yunyin, you're so lucky. Di Xiaofeng is the perfect lover in the eyes of so many girls. I'm so jealous that he likes you." The female members of the Bailey family were already going crazy. They all lamented that such a thing had never happened to them. The elder was also surprised. However, if Bailey and Yin could really be together with Di Xiaofeng, it would be a great thing for their family. Chapter 4759. However, Lin Yi, who was the happiest, did not go. Everyone understood the reason for this. After trying to call several times, Lin Yi just refused to say that she was not feeling well. Everyone could only leave helplessly. Lin Qianqian stood outside the house, looking at the closed door. Her brows were knitted together. She was Lin Yi's sister. She naturally knew how deep Lin Yi's feelings for Di Xiaofeng were. Lin Yi almost dreamed that she could marry Di Xiaofeng, but such a dream could not be achieved. She understood that Lin Yi couldn't face all this at the moment, and she would not force her sister to face it. Since she wanted to be alone, then let her stay here alone. Without Lin Yi, this celebration was naturally less joyful. Lin Yi was usually the most lively person here. Thinking that she was probably hiding in the house and sad now, everyone couldn't be happy. As the initiator of this matter, Di Xiaofeng was also very helpless. He didn't want to hurt Lin Yi, but he really couldn't help it in this matter. If I can, I really want to beat you up. Lin Qianqian looked at Di Xiaofeng fiercely. If someone else bullied her sister like this, she would have already taken action without hesitation. Hearing this, Di Xiaofeng stared at Lin Qianqian and said, "You can hit me. This is all my fault. I am sorry for Yi." For a long time, he had also doted on Yi, his cousin, very much, but she was just a cousin. He couldn't develop any other feelings for her. However, seeing Yi sad, he felt very uncomfortable in his heart. Lin Qianqian grabbed Di Xiaofeng's collar with one hand and waved her fist without hesitation. Di Xiaofeng just stood there without moving. In fact, he would rather someone beat him up so that he would feel better in his heart. However, Lin Qianqian's fist stopped only 1 centimeter away from Di Xiaofeng's face. "Forget it. What's the use of hitting you?" Lin Qianqian sighed. "Can you be with Yi if I hit you?" As Lin Qianqian said, she shook her head. "If you don't really like Yi, then what's the point of being with Yi reluctantly? Yi is so good. She deserves a man who loves her wholeheartedly." As soon as he said this, everyone nodded in agreement. This was also what they were thinking. Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen glanced at each other. From Bailey Hongzhuang's point of view, Di Xiaofeng was really too hurtful, but they also knew that Di Xiaofeng and Bailey Yunyan loved each other. This kind of thing could only be said to be fate. During dinner, Xiao He, Xiao Bai, and White Dragon came out together. However, when Bailey Hongzhuang did not see White Lion, she could not help but wonder, where did White Lion go? "White Lion is with Yi," Xiao He said. "Ah." Bailey Hongzhuang was surprised. "When did it go in?" "After Yi comes back, she'll be with Bai Shi. Yi needs comfort now, so it's good that Bai Shi is accompanying her," Di Beichen said slowly. "At least this way, we can rest assured." "Indeed." Bailey Hongzhuang nodded. If there was no one by Lin Yi's side now, they would not be at ease. Although Bai Shi was a beast, he was also a reliable beast. Chapter 4760. Today's Bai Shi already had the majesty of the Beast King. His fur was soft and shiny. His streamlined figure and domineering appearance were awe-inspiring in everyone's eyes. Lin Yi was shocked when she saw Bai Shi because such a beautiful and domineering beastkin was rare. The most important thing was that Bai Shi's fur was soft and warm. It was so comfortable to hug him. Since then, Lin Yi often hung out with Bai Shi. At first, Bai Shi refused Lin Yi's hug, but because of Lin Yi's identity, he could only accept it helplessly. After all, there was always a guy who would stick to him as soon as she saw him. He couldn't do anything, so he could only let it be. Gradually, Bai Shi got used to it. "Beichen, have you told Yi that Bai Shi will be able to transform into a human form soon?" Bailey Hongzhuang suddenly thought of this and couldn't help but ask. Di Beichen shook his head with a hint of doubt in his eyes. "Didn't you tell Yi?" "I thought you told her," Bailey Hongzhuang said. "I thought you told her too," Di Beichen responded. "I just think that Yi won't be able to hug Bai Shi willfully for long." Bailey Hongzhuang shrugged. Di Beichen smiled faintly. "In fact, it's good that you didn't tell her now. At least you can let Bai Shi accompany her. Otherwise, We won't feel at ease leaving her alone at this time. With Baishur, they didn't have to worry about Linny doing stupid things. This was enough. The next day, Di Xiaofeng, Di Beichun, and Bailey Hongzhuang appeared together at the Bailey family's residence. Bailey Hongzhuang was also full of curiosity about the Bailey family. She just wanted to know if the current Bailey family and the Bailey family from 1,000 years ago were the same family. It's just that if they were to go over and ask, the other party would be suspicious. Fortunately, they knew Bailey Yunyan, so it was best to ask from her. Bailey Yunyan walked out of the Bailey family. Her face was red as she looked at Di Xiaofeng and then at the two strangers behind her. She smiled and said, "Xiaofeng, congratulations, you finally found your brother." Ever since she met Di Xiaofeng, she knew that Di Xiaofeng had always been looking for Di Beichun, but he couldn't find him even after spending a lot of time and effort. She didn't expect that the brothers would finally reunite this time. She was also happy for Di Xiaofeng. Hearing Bailey Yunyan's words, Bailey Hongzhuang and the other two smiled. When Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichun first met Bailey Yunyan, they were both in disguise. Therefore, Bailey Yunyan didn't recognize them at all. Seeing the three of them smile, Bailey Yunyan felt a bit strange. Could it be that she said something wrong? Just as she was confused, Di Xiaofeng said, "Yunyan, actually, you know Beichun and Hongzhuang." Hearing this, Bailey Yunyan was even more confused. "I know them? I don't know them. They are Situ and Yixian." Di Xiaofeng smiled. "What?" Bailey Yunyan was dumbfounded. Her eyes widened as she looked at Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Xiaofeng in disbelief. "How is that possible? It's such a coincidence. We were in disguise. I didn't expect Xiaofeng to be Beichun's big brother." Bailey Hongzhuang explained with a smile. Chapter 4761. "By the way, how is Miss Shear now?" Bailey Hongzhuang asked. Bailey She's condition was quite serious, but gradually improved. They didn't see Bailey She in the alchemy competition this time, so they didn't know how she was doing now. Hearing this, a smile appeared on Bailey Yunyan's face. "Sure, is much better now, but because she was expelled from the family, she didn't come this time. So it's like that." Bailey Hongzhuang smiled. "Miss Bailey, I really didn't expect you to be so beautiful." Bailey Yunyan's eyes were filled with amazement. When Bailey Hongzhuang stood on the stage, the first thing she noticed was not that Bailey Hongzhuang could represent her family in the alchemy competition at such a young age. The first thing she noticed was Bailey Hongzhuang's appearance. There was a beauty in the north, aloof and independent from the world. With one look, she could topple a city, and with another, she could topple a country. In the past, she didn't understand what kind of beauty could truly topple a city, but after seeing Bailey Hongzhuang, she understood. When she saw Bailey Hongzhuang before she changed her appearance, although her appearance wasn't bad, it couldn't be compared to her current appearance. "Miss Yunyan is too kind. Speaking of which, we are really fated." Bailey Yunyan's face was filled with excitement. "Your surname is also Hongzhuang. What a coincidence." Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly. "When I first saw you, I also felt that this was a kind of fate. Since everyone has so much to talk about, why don't we find a tea house to sit down? It's not appropriate to keep standing here." Di Xiaofeng looked to the side. Almost all the young disciples of the Bailey family were gathered here, and everyone's eyes fell on them. He only felt that if everyone continued to look at him like this, it wouldn't be a comfortable thing. After Bailey Yunyan noticed this scene, a trace of embarrassment appeared on her face, and she quickly said, "That's right. Why don't we go somewhere else?" Ever since Di Xiaofeng came to find her yesterday, everyone had been asking her how she met Di Xiaofeng, which annoyed her to no end. She could imagine that when she came back later, she would be surrounded by everyone again. She felt extremely helpless. Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichun nodded, then went to the tea house together. Along the way, Di Xiaofeng and Bailey Hongzhuang were reminiscing about old times, while Bailey Hongzhuang, she was thinking about how to ask about the Bailey family. After all, it was strange for an outsider to suddenly ask about the Bailey Hongzhuang family. Di Xiaofeng's and held hers. "Yunyan, the Baileys' Is this the way S.A. families? S's. D. Bachin's dark and deep eyes flashed with a wise luster. His expression was indifferent, as if he had already seen through everything. In this kind of situation, Bailey Union's attitude had already made her intentions clear. After all, he hadn't missed Bailey Union's disappointment yesterday. Thinking about it, Yi's matter might have even helped Di Xiaofeng and Bailey Union's relationship. Looking at Di Beichen's confident look, Bailey Hongzhuang also nodded. No matter what, she had to ask today. Chapter 4762. Di Xiaofeng noticed the strange expressions on Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen's faces, and a trace of doubt flashed through his eyes. He always felt that Bailey Hongzhuang seemed to have something on her mind, but he couldn't figure out what it was. Tea house. After Di Xiaofeng and Bailey Yunyan finished talking, Bailey Hongzhuang said, "Miss Yunyan, I have something to ask you." Looking at Bailey Hongzhuang's serious expression, Bailey Yunyan also became serious. "What is it? How long has your family been around?" Hearing this, Bailey Yunyan was slightly stunned. She thought that Bailey Hongzhuang would ask some complicated questions, but she didn't expect that she would ask about her family's heritage. This was a bit strange. Although our Bailey family is just an ordinary family now, our family has been around for thousands of years. Bailey Union's face was full of pride. Even if the Bailey family was just an ordinary family in the eyes of others, they knew that their family used to be a very dazzling and powerful existence. It's just that it gradually declined. I don't know why you're asking this. At this time, Di Xiaofeng also said, "I also heard that the Bailey family used to be a very powerful family, but I don't know what happened, and it gradually declined." Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes lit up when she heard that the Bailey family had been around for thousands of years. In addition, the Bailey family used to be a very powerful family. With these 2 points combined, her judgment was very likely to be true. Thinking that the Bailey family might still exist, Bailey Hongzhuang couldn't help but feel happy. This was really good news. Back then, she passed away because of an accident and didn't explain many things to her family. In fact, she had always felt guilty in her heart. If she could confirm that the Bailey family still existed, then she would feel much better and even have a sense of belonging in her heart. After all, she was a member of the Bailey family. Hongzhuang's surname is also Bailey. According to the information passed down by her ancestors, her family used to be a very large one. After coming to the upper world, she learned about the Bailey family, so Hongzhuang wanted to know more about it, Di Beichin explained. Hearing Di Beichin's words, Bailey Yunyan was slightly taken aback. Then, her eyes lit up. Could it be that Lady Bailey's ancestors are of the same lineage as us? Although the possibility of this was not high, it was indeed possible if one thought about it carefully. In the past, the Bailey family was very powerful, and there were many direct descendants and branch descendants. After a few generations, many of the branch descendants went to other places. Naturally, it was also possible that they went to the lower world. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly. That is indeed a possibility. That is why I wanted to ask. I hope Miss Yunyan can tell me. In my opinion, you don't have to call me Miss Yunyan. Just call me Yunyan. How about it? Bailey Yunyan said. She had always had a good impression of Bailey Hongzhuang. If it wasn't for Bailey Hongzhuang, she would probably be dead by now. In addition, Bailey Hongzhuang was Di Xiaofeng's sister-in-law. She felt that this was fate. Okay, Bailey Hongzhuang replied with a smile. Just call me Hongzhuang. Chapter 4763. On the side, Di Xiaofeng finally understood what Bailey Hongzhuang was thinking about before. When he first found out that his sister-in-law's surname was also Bailey, he only felt that it was fate. He didn't expect that his sister-in-law and Bailey Yunyan might really have the same bloodline. How could this not be surprising? However, he felt that if Bailey Hongzhuang and Bailey Yunyan really had the same bloodline, then it was really fate. I want to know if there was a family head named Bailey Jingyu in your family? Bailey Hongzhuang asked in a deep voice, her dark phoenix eyes flashing with a nervous light. Bewitching you was none other than Bailey Hongzhuang's grandfather. At that time, it was Bailey Hongzhuang who passed the position of family head to Bailey Hongzhuang. The old man was clearly old but strong, but he said that he wanted to rest all day, so he passed the position of family head to her early on. In fact, she also understood that it was because her father died in an accident. Her grandfather wanted to protect her and didn't want others to have the possibility of taking over the position of family head, so he did this. She originally wanted to lead the Bailey family to become stronger and stronger, but who would have thought that in the end, even she died in an accident? Thinking about it, her grandfather must have been very sad when he found out about this. Every time she thought of this, Bailey Hongzhuang felt a burst of pain and couldn't help but feel guilty. She let Bewitching you send off her own child. Needless to say, she felt very sad in her heart. It was a pity that she had no way to let Bewitching you know that she didn't die and was still alive. Hearing Bailey Hongzhuang's words, Bailey Yunyan shook her head. In my memory, I don't seem to have heard of this family head. Miss Yunyan, Hongzhuang's bloodline has been in the lower realm for a long time. I hope you can go back and look at your family's genealogy. Maybe you can find it. Di Beichan said in a deep voice. Bailey Yunyan was slightly stunned. Then her eyes lit up. You're right, I thought too simply. I'm afraid this is a matter from a long time ago. What I know is only the successive patriarchs in recent years. I really don't know anything about the patriarchs from many years ago. Why don't I go back and do some research? While speaking, Bailey Yunyan frowned again. We are now in the Water Chi City. The genealogy is in our family. I think even if I ask the Great Elder, he may not know. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled and said, There's no need to rush. After we're done with the Immortal Cloud's secret realm, you can find some time to help me ask around after you return to your family. She had already waited for so many years, and she didn't mind waiting a few more. Although he didn't have any concrete evidence, he was certain that the Bailey family was most likely the family she had been in, because there wouldn't be so many coincidences. Since the Bailey family had been passed down for many years and was once a big family, it was impossible for there to be two Bailey family at the same time. Hongzhuang, don't worry. I'll help you inquire about it as soon as I return to my clan, Bailey Yunyan said. Thank you very much. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled faintly. You're too courteous. Bailey Yunyan waved her hand. This is nothing. I'm just going back to inquire about it. I haven't even thanked you properly when you helped treat my sister. Chapter 4764. Listening to Di Xiaofeng's words, the smile in Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes deepened a little. She immediately nodded with a smile. Yes, we are all on the same side, so I won't say more polite words. Bailey Yunyan's expression changed. A trace of shyness quietly appeared in her eyes, but she didn't continue to talk about this topic. Not speaking was equivalent to acquiescence. Di Xiaofeng, Di Beichan, and Bailey Hongzhuang glanced at each other. They already understood a little in their hearts. Lin Yi, who stayed in the house, was very sad. Although she already knew that big cousin only regarded her as a sister, she never gave up. After all, she had liked him for so many years, and she never thought of other possibilities in her mind. Now that she saw that Di Xiaofeng already had someone he liked, the sadness in her heart was self-evident. White Lion, do you think I should give up? Lin Yi raised her red and swollen eyes, looking at White Lion in front of her. She muttered with her small mouth, looking as aggrieved as possible. White Lion looked at Lin Yi, who was hugging him as a pillow, and his eyes flashed with a strong sense of helplessness. In fact, his original intention was to go out with his master for a big meal, but he didn't expect to be dragged in by Lin Yi directly. Since the first time he saw Lin Yi, he had become her pillow. Although he had struggled many times, it was obviously useless. White Lion, what's with your gaze? Lin Yi frowned and looked at White Lion. I am already so sad, and you still don't want to care about it. Aren't you too heartless? Listening to Lin Yi's words, White Lion restrained himself a little and let the other party hug him. Anyway, he was already used to it. What's more, Lin Yi always looked happy on weekdays. Her appearance today was really distressing. Seeing White Lion's attitude change, Lin Yi's heart also warmed a little. I know, White Lion, you are the best to me. Lin Yi rubbed her face on White Lion, but the sadness in her eyes still did not dissipate. You say if I give up like this, isn't it a pity? I have liked Big Cousin for so many years, and my heart has never changed. Just as Baishir was about to speak, Lin Yi said again, but if you really love someone, you should want to see him happy. Eldest cousin doesn't like me. Even if he really gets together with me, he probably won't be happy. Lin Yi looked bitter. She couldn't help but think of Di Xiaofeng's expression when he saw Bailey Yunyan today. White Lion, do you know, I have never seen Big Cousin look at any woman with such a warm gaze, but I saw it today. From the moment I saw the look in his eyes, I knew I had failed, and it was impossible. Actually, I was very clear in my heart that perhaps my persistence these past few years was unreasonable in everyone's eyes. Not only did it not bring any happiness to Big Cousin, but it also made him feel a lot more helpless. I've thought about giving up before, but it's one thing to think about it and another thing to do it. Every time I think about giving up, I can't help but feel my heart ache. I always think that maybe one day, Big Cousin will change his mind. Maybe he will fall in love with me. Lin Yi had tears in the corner of her eyes, but I can't lie to myself anymore. Looking at Lin Yi like this, Baishir's gaze gradually changed. Chapter 4765. Originally, Baishir couldn't understand Lin Yi's persistence. In his opinion, Di Xiaofeng had always shown it clearly. In this matter, Di Xiaofeng had tried his best to do the best he could, but Lin Yi was unwilling to give up. At this moment, after hearing Lin Yi's words, he began to understand. In fact, Lin Yi was not ignorant, nor was she willful or unreasonable. It was because her love was too deep, so she couldn't let go. Come to think of it, if you like someone to the bone, wanting to give up is not an easy thing to do. He thought that Lin Yi would still not choose to give up after today, but now hearing what she said, he suddenly felt that Lin Yi was also very cute. Just when Baishir was about to comfort Lin Yi, he found that she had fallen asleep due to exhaustion from crying. Seeing this, Baishir also sighed in his heart. He might have thought too much. Lin Yi called him in just to talk to herself, not to ask him for an answer. As early as after the end of the alchemy competition, the great elder immediately conveyed the result back to the Di family. Di Yujue had actually been a little worried during this period of time. Although he had already expected that his family would not be able to obtain good results in this alchemy competition, he felt that the Jun family would definitely not let go of the opportunity to add insult to injury. He only hoped that the family's juniors would not be affected by this incident. After all, this time, Di Xiaofeng and others would not be in the limelight. On the contrary, they would be ridiculed and suppressed. If they could persist in such a situation without affecting their state of mind, it would actually be a kind of training for them. It was just that as a cultivator of the Di family, they had always been in the limelight in the outside world. He was afraid that everyone would not be able to accept such a situation. He was also a little worried. After learning that the Xiao family had formed an alliance with the Jun family, Di Yujue was also very angry. He didn't expect the Xiao family to be so heartless this time. They made such a decision when their Di family needed help. This feeling was tantamount to being betrayed again, which made Di Yujue extremely annoyed. Di Yujue wasn't the only one who was worried. Di Lin Xian and the others couldn't help but worry as well. The alchemy competition has already ended. I think the news will come back soon. Xiao Wanrong's face faintly revealed some worry as she rubbed her hands. Di Linxian nodded slightly. That's right. According to the usual days, we should be able to receive the results today. I hope the children will not be affected in such a situation. Di Yujue's eyes darkened slightly. As the head of the family, it was indeed his fault that he did not provide better protection for his family's disciples. Seeing Di Yujue blaming himself, Xiao Wanrong couldn't help but say, Yujue, this matter is not your fault. We misjudged Medicine Master Qin at that time, so we ended up in this situation today. This will never happen again, Di Lin Xian said seriously. Just as they were talking, the second elder quickly rushed over. Patriarch, the news has arrived. As soon as these words were spoken, the expressions of everyone present changed. Quick, let me see that you're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.